Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations.
Episode 187, Developing Compassionate Honesty. Welcome back to another episode designed to help you navigate not only your career journey, but also your wider relationships. Last week, when talking about managing your early career, I mentioned that kindness includes honesty, not just brutal honesty, and I gave my reasons why. I also mentioned that I'd do a whole episode on compassionate honesty because I had quite a lot to say about it, so here it is. And this is for anyone who finds themselves grappling with having to deliver difficult messages without destroying anyone's self-confidence. Recently, I came across Meg John Barker's words, and she says that kindness without honesty is not kindness. And that's very much what I was talking about in my last episode. She also says that honesty without kindness is not honesty. This is a trickier concept for me to wrap my tiny mind around, but what she says is that if we are honest with somebody without thinking compassionately about that person, then we are not being fully honest with ourselves or with them. Her rationale is that full honesty requires us to see the whole person rather than simply the part of them that we are currently focusing on. She goes on to say that honesty without the kind recognition that we are all suffering and defending ourselves against suffering is not really honesty. Whew, that's really compassion right there in my book. But it does take me in a slightly different direction in that my preference is not to focus on the suffering. Something I need to think about. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that as well, so do let me know. Pop it in an email to me or leave it in a review. So it seems that compassion or kindness is the watchword here. Many of us introverts, whether leaders in business or role models for family, face a common challenge: how to express our thoughts and opinions honestly whilst also being considerate of other people's feelings. I feel it's essential to find that middle ground where we can speak our truth without causing harm. So in this episode, I'll explore what compassionate honesty means, why it's important, and how to practice it effectively in our professional lives. So let's start by defining exactly what compassionate honesty is. At its core, compassionate honesty is the art of expressing your thoughts, opinions, and feelings truthfully while taking into account the emotions and perspectives of others. It's about finding the right words, tone, and timing to communicate openly without causing undue stress or hurt feelings. It's about using our emotional intelligence, our intuition, and our humanity. This takes me back to that trauma-informed coaching session I attended, where we were encouraged to think about what happened to an individual rather than what's up with them. For we introverts, this can be particularly challenging, as the fear of upsetting others and dealing with the ensuing conflict often holds us back from speaking up. But remember, compassionate honesty is not about sugarcoating or avoiding difficult conversations. It's about finding the right balance that allows both your voice and empathy to shine. It's a delicate balance to strike, and one that lets us speak our minds while preserving harmony. So why does this really matter? Why does compassionate honesty hold such value in our professional lives? I'm sure we've all worked with people who are either brutal with their honesty or sugarcoat it to the point where we don't really know what they're saying. Personally, I find it challenging to respect people who practice either of those approaches, especially when they are applied inconsistently. It comes down to authentic communication, which we know builds trust and fosters meaningful connections with colleagues, clients, and friends for that matter. It's tied to emotional intelligence, which is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, while also empathizing with others. Tapping into emotional intelligence helps us to navigate the fine line between truth and tact. It involves gauging the emotional state of those around us and choosing our words and tone accordingly. Remember, it's not about masking your feelings. It's about communicating them in a way that respects other people's emotions. So emotional intelligence really is the cornerstone of effective communication here. When you speak your truth with kindness and understanding, it creates an environment where people feel valued and respected, and that makes it a foundation for psychological safety. Compassionate honesty is important professionally for me, because it allows me to have my voice heard whilst minimising the risk of unnecessary conflict and tension. So now that we've laid the foundation, let's explore some actionable tips for us as introverts so that we can practice compassionate honesty effectively. You'll notice that these are not new concepts to you, and some have certainly been covered when looking at how to flourish, how to be assertive, how to live a fulfilled life. The first is self-awareness. Before speaking up, take a moment to reflect on your emotions and intentions. Are you genuinely seeking to communicate constructively, or is there a hidden frustration that might leak out? In other words, who is really going to benefit the most from your communication? The second is choose your battles. Not every situation requires immediate input. Prioritise conversations that align with your values and the overall goal of the team or organisation or situation. Waiting until things have cooled down is often a good tactic. Third is active listening. Pay attention to other people's perspectives and emotions, including what's not being said. So it's time to listen with your eyes too. This will help you to tailor your communications so that you address their concerns while still expressing your own thoughts. Fourth is use I statements. Frame your thoughts as personal experiences or observations rather than absolute or fundamental truths. This approach can reduce defensiveness and encourage dialogue. Fifth and last on this actionable tips list is practice empathy. Put yourself in the other person's shoes and, before you even say anything, consider how your words might affect them and adjust your approach accordingly. This practice fuels understanding and shapes how you convey your thoughts. I find these 5 really important tips, but please don't use them as an excuse to bottle it. By incorporating these into your communication style, you'll find that compassionate honesty can be a powerful tool for building relationships and driving your career forward. To bring this tricky concept to life, I want to share a real-life example with you from my own experience. I was recently using a venue for training, and the hosts and their management team didn't exactly make us welcome. Fortunately, we shielded attendees from the worst of it, so their experience wasn't impacted too badly. I had hoped to use this venue again, but would only do so if a few things changed, and changed quite significantly. So a difficult conversation needed to be had. You can see how this also links to feedback, can't you? And yet how often do people either sugarcoat the feedback, come in with a sledgehammer, or avoid giving the feedback altogether? I could have used brutal honesty here, but frankly that would not have helped to develop a fruitful business relationship, and sugarcoating the issue would have left them vulnerable had they continued to provide this level of service to other clients. Was I comfortable or looking forward to this conversation? Nope. Did I prep for almost every eventuality? You bet your life I did. That's often how we manage to have these difficult conversations, and of course the trick is not to overthink it so we talk ourselves out of it. The trick is to think about it enough so that we're suitably prepared. I was able to put myself in their shoes and recognise how they might feel during this conversation. I anticipated where their defensiveness might come from and made sure that I could empathise. And I needed to speak the truth for both of our benefits. I'm not sure we've got to the final resolution yet. Conversations are still ongoing, but it's been worth every bit of discomfort so far. Somehow, life seems to be like that in fits and starts. I guess it goes along with the peaks and troughs of flourishing. One thing I do know, though, is that compassionate honesty is always the way to go in these situations. As I wrap up this episode, let me summarise the key takeaways then. Remember, your introverted nature is a gift, as you have a unique strength in understanding nuances and connecting on a deeper level. Compassionate honesty is about finding the balance between expressing your thoughts truthfully and considering other people's feelings. It capitalises on your ability to perceive subtleties and to connect genuinely so that you can build trust, strengthen relationships, and develop psychological safety for yourself and for others. All hail compassionate honesty.
If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.